Okay, so this is a very good example. There are Trump fans who, if you say anything that's not absolutely worshipful, going back to our last point of people being gay for Trump and all these figures, they think you have Trump derangement syndrome. But we try to be fair. And I must say that the hyperventilating about his every utterance is completely unhinged, and there's nobody to bring the unhinged like James Carville, and it's also hypocritical, as we'll see. So Trump was responding to a question about the possibility of civil unrest with the implication of violence on election day, which she claims Biden says there's the possibility of, and this was how he responded.
Let's remember, you've got 50,000 Chinese nationals in this country in the last couple of years. Yeah. You have people on the terrorist watch list, 350 in the last couple of years. You got, like you said, 13,000 murderers and 15,000 rapists. Right. What are you expecting? Joe Biden said he doesn't think it's going to be a peaceful election day.
Well, he doesn't have any idea what's happening in all fairness. He spends most of his day sleeping. I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within. Not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military, because they can't let that happen.
Okay, he is responding specifically here to a question where he's being asked about how he's going to respond to civil unrest or violence on election day.
Right, if it erupts.
If it erupts. Which he was asked. He didn't just start talking about this unprompted. And he says you'd have to deal with it with the military, which I think more he's talking about, well, who knows with him, but really that would be the National Guard, because of the Posse Comitatus Act. But that's essentially what he's saying.
Now, keep in mind, this is a true hypothetical because Trump will not be president on Election Day or even the day after Election Day if he wins. He doesn't take office until January. This is what would you do in the event of civil unrest following contested election results or whatever.
Let's presume they're talking about Inauguration Day, right?
All right.
Yes.
That's right. Transfer of power. I'm sorry. That's right. Transfer of power. Yes.
What he's saying is actually, not out of keeping with basic standard practice. She's asking about violence. She's not asking what will you do about protesters.
Right.
That's not what she asked him.
Right.
She asked him about unrest, violence, and he said, well, you'd have to call out the National Guard. What's also very hypocritical about this is what? The Democrats don't use this kind of language, that the other side can't be trusted. They're lunatics, they're dangerous, they're violent, and we're going to have to crack down on them. Like, they never say things like this. So they, of course, use this as a pretext, as they always do, to claim that this, see, he's telling you he's going to come round up all of his political opponents. And if you listen to the statement, it's a pretty innocuous statement. All right. But of course, nobody like James Carville to really amp it up. Now, something that you're going to hear a lot about, so much that I decided to do a segment about it. If I know my Democrats, most people did not know about this Madison Square Garden Nazi rally from 1939. I did, because I'm a history geek and a tour guide, and I used to talk about it on my tours. The Democrats, that's going to be their Project 2025 line for the next 2 weeks until Trump has that rally next Sunday. So Carville setting the tone here like he does.
I did not realize when I said that he would actually go on television and say, I'm going to use the military to round up my political enemies. When I said that, General Flynn, who's going to be very senior in this administration, didn't say that the gates of hell will rain on my political enemies. When I said that, I didn't know that he was going to schedule a rally at Madison Square Garden to mimic the Nazi rally of 10 February 1939. So we have, they're telling you, and by the way, if they win, they're going to correctly say, we told you in the election what we were going to do, and you voted for us, you have green-lighted the whole thing. And if we don't tell people about that, if these young black men, how do you think they're going to do? If you're a young black male and Trump-inspired army roundup of people, how well do you think you're going to do in that? You think you got nothing to lose? How about looking at American history for one time and see what can happen here? And they are telling you, we're not making this up. This is not, we can be fact-checked by anybody. They have promised military roundup. They've promised the gates of hell will rain on the enemies. The Supreme Court has green-lighted it. They were asked the question, if a Navy SEAL is ordered to assassinate a political enemy, the president can't be, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just part of his job. They are telling you they're doing all of this. Pay attention to them right now. Please. They're telling you.
Exactly. That is exactly, people
right.
Pay attention to what he's saying. That is why I think Harris is telling people to watch his rallies.
You know, who thought stick a tampon up your ass would be the second craziest thing he says this year? But it is.
If you're black, look at American history. They're going. Yeah. Who you think they're gonna come round up?
Yeah. It's just it's a really irresponsible level of fear mongering, and that was really one step away from Biden saying if Romney is elected, you're gonna be back in chains. That was definitely in that ballpark. Yeah, if Trump's elected, they're gonna send out the troops to round up all the.
So you black men, you don't want to vote for Kamala. Well, you better be ready. They're gonna come kick in your door.
Right. It's incredible. Now this MSG thing, to compare it to the Nazi rally of 1939, which I'm telling you that this is going to be a major, major, major talking point for the next 2 weeks, especially once they have footage of the rally. They're going to be playing it intercut with images of the Nazis. It's just so completely unhinged and so completely hypocritical because the Democrats want to present themselves as the defenders of liberty and protest. Now, aside from we've all seen what happened to protesters for the Palestinians under the current Democratic administration, and a lot of you might remember what happened under Obama's administration. You might remember Standing Rock. Remember Standing Rock? Oh, who was president then? Oh, it was Barack Obama, still president at the time. When they sprayed Standing Rock demonstrators with tear gas and water cannons, 168 people treated for hypothermia. Hey, how about earlier in Barack Obama's presidency, Occupy Wall Street, UC Davis pepper spray. If you remember that, they pepper sprayed a pregnant woman in Seattle, and an 84-year-old woman in that incident. And in NYPD, multiple allegations of police brutality. And if you recall, Barack Obama did nothing, said nothing. So this idea that the Republicans are uniquely authoritarian, no, they are not. No, they are not. Not especially given what we've just experienced with Gaza. But as you can see here, that did not start with Gaza. There was a long history of the Democrats cracking down on dissent, and in some ways you could argue it's more dangerous when they're in power because it's swept under the rug. Whereas when it happens under Trump, you remember when people were getting picked up in Seattle and put into SUVs, it was a big story. If it had happened under the Democrats, you wouldn't have heard about it. This is what they're going to go with. And actually, the question she asked Carville that incited his latest deranged stream of consciousness, Garden of Earthly Delights-esque monologue was she asked him, well, you've said we need to go back from talking about weird to warning people. That was what he was responding to. So and we're seeing that with Kamala too. Kamala's shifting to the Hillary line. He's dangerous. He's Bruce Springsteen in his endorsement says he's the most dangerous a person to run for president in my lifetime. So they're leaning back into that because it worked so well last time.
That's what Trump derangement syndrome is
that's it. Right.
When you can't laugh at Trump, you can't even enjoy, even at Trump's expense, you can't laugh at him because he's just so offends you that even when he makes an idiot of himself and most people look at it and kind of laugh and say, that's kind of a weird thing, they will go right to, this is why he's unfit. He's the court jester who wants to be king. He cannot lead the free world. This is what he was talking about there. That's Trump derangement syndrome. What's not Trump derangement syndrome is when he tells Miriam Adelson that when her husband wanted him to, go to bat for Israel, he did, and he got them more than he asked for. That's not Trump derangement syndrome. That's illegitimate criticism. Trump derangement syndrome is this. You should just, the weird thing
Carville's
was working.
whole monologue is a masterclass in
That's Trump derangement syndrome. Right, exactly. Like, the weird thing was working. This is not working, but what do they do? Look, Trump has been resilient in the polls lately. He's crept up on them, right? He hasn't surged, but he's overtaken them in a very close race, very, very close. They're panicking. What do they do when they panic? Fear-monger. Fear. The weird thing was working much better. They should have just stuck with that.
Well, and I think they're just helping him.
Right.
If they're gonna get on message and do what we said he should be doing from the beginning, not litigating Kamala's race, immigration, the economy. It seems like they're finally doing that. It seems like they are finally coalescing around a message. And if they're going to do this, they're going to do the Hillary campaign 2.0. Trump is too dangerous to be president. That will not bode well for them.
Please clap.